Rev up your engines! Okay, we're going to talk about a classic SUV here, Grand Cherokee. Now, they've gone insane. I just priced a new one of these here in Rhode Island. It was $87,000. And they've got a Jeep Grand Wagoneer that was $114,000. The guy just bought this a few months ago for $2,900. So right off the bat, he's got more brains than people spending almost 100 G's for a Jeep. They got pluses, they got minuses. This thing still runs good. It's got the classic 4-liter inline-6 engine. Now, these were the vehicles that were the most traded in when they had the U.S. cash for clunkers. And you know why? Because they get horrible gas mileage. It gets 13 miles a gallon. If you drive them normally, that's what you're going to get. They're heavy vehicles. They got a basic automatic transmission. They're gas hogs. They're zippy, though. Give them that. They're zippy. If you can afford the gas and you want to zip around, hey, $2,900. Sure beats buying a fancy new one for $87,000 that I priced today. It is the top of the line, but this is a Grand Cherokee Special Edition, so it was top of the line too. Now, this is when Jeep was really getting into SUVs, getting away from conventional Jeeps and going to a unibody construction. You could see it's all welded together, the whole body. And you can see, since it's lived in Jersey, you can see there's rust. The rocker panels are rusting. But the basic unibody frame still looks to be in pretty good shape. The cross member's solid, it's not rusted. With the rear wheel drive and the transfer case. I'm sure the chrome wheels are pitted and the caps for some of the lug nuts are gone, but hey, it lived in Jersey its whole life. What do you expect? Go under the hood, we look at the heart of this Jeep. Look, and the prop supports still work. It didn't hit me in the head. You have a very reliable 6-cylinder inline engine. They do have plenty of power. You put all that weight and extra friction, you're going to get worse gas mileage. I had some people in Texas, they might have gotten 15.5 miles a gallon, but they were just the rear wheel drive. The AC still works on this thing. If you look closer, you can see most of the parts are still original. Original alternator. A lot of the parts are still original. Now we'll go inside. And yeah, the seats are worn out. He's got little seat covers on it. Let's start her up. Sounds like the 6-cylinder engine. Now, they are exceptionally smooth engines. That's one of the reasons they use them. Those 6 cylinders will put it in gear. And check it out. Smooth as can be, even though it's got 151,000 miles on it. Now, this was a special edition, so it's got a sunroof on it. AC, you know, it's older, so it's got a CD player. Like I said, the leather seats are worse for wear, but this is why people bought them. Got a lot of room. You can carry a lot of stuff in one of these. When this one was built, it was built by Daimler Chrysler when Mercedes had owned them. And in my opinion, they actually started to make them a lot better when Daimler took over. When Fiat took over and then Stellantis, they went right down the toilet. These are probably the best ones that they ever made. And you might wonder, well, why did Daimler get rid of them? Well, because they lost an awful lot of money. They had quality controls and the whole Chrysler reign. And the Germans' plan, kind of like the Germans in World War II, went awry. They thought, we're going to sell our Mercedes at the Jeep dealers. Come on, people buy Mercedes as snob cars. They don't want to go to a Chrysler dealer to buy a car. They want to go to a Mercedes dealer. And Mercedes was thinking, maybe we'll make cheaper cars and sell them. Well, that failed too. It failed just like when Fiat bought Chrysler. They started selling Fiats. Well, do you find them anymore for sale in the United States? No, because nobody wanted the things. In that case, it was, instead of luxury, it was a crappy version of a car, the Fiat 500. They don't sell them here anymore. Now it's still on it. But they were actually making the best vehicles they ever made, as far as I'm concerned, when Daimler Chrysler was building these. Poor Germans lost so much money. From what I see, it was billions. They gave up with the whole idea of owning Chrysler. And like I say, the quality's garbage. Now, these are unibody vehicles. They're not like a classic Jeep that's a frame and the body bolts onto the frame. These are unibody. The whole body's the frame of the vehicle. Hence, they ride more like cars. They weigh less. They got a better suspension. These are zippy, fun things to drive around in. But, and heed my warning, don't go buying one of these and think you're going to be a serious off-roader, because you're going to break it. A solid steel frame with the body bolted on is a lot stronger than what these are. They're fine for driving down the road, but it's not a serious off-roader. If you want that, you're going to get a CJ Jeep with big knobby tires with an actual frame and a winch. These are for driving on the road. They're SUVs. And considering the one I looked at the other day just to see what they cost here in Rhode Island, at $87,000, it's no wonder they're not selling too many of them. They've overpriced, you know. These things originally weren't that expensive. He bought this used for $2,900. It seems to be in pretty good shape. But now they've gone price mad, and eventually people are like, there's a lot better SUVs I can drive around in than that. So I'll get my big Autel scan tool out and see if it's going to make a liar out of me or not, saying what kind of shape it's in. Got the key turned on so the idiot lights are on, and away we go. Diagnostics. We'll see if it'll do an auto VIN. It may or may not because it's older. Okay, read the VIN. And once checking everything out, you can see it is an all-wheel drive system. It's called Quadra-Track 2. You can put it in all-wheel 4 and neutral, or you can put it in 4-wheel low. Now here we go. We're going to do a full scan, and we're off to the races. And while it's doing that, we'll look at the inside. Basic things, a few buttons here, a lot less than what the modern ones do, but hey, the AC still works, and it has heated driver and passenger seats. Electric windows that still work. The armrest isn't worn out. They built that pretty good. Oh, the vehicle still takes some time. We're 16% done now, but there's a lot of stuff I can check. So far, so good. The engine and everything is fine. There's a couple of codes on the body control module. A lot of times they have nonsense codes. We'll look at that when it's done. Okay, so now here's some codes. Some of them we don't give anything about. One is passenger seat heat output of range is high. So I guess you better watch it. You're going to get a hot seat. But I don't see any holes burning. I had a customer with a Mercedes once. His went nuts on his driver on his Mercedes. It burned a hole in his leather jacket and his rear end and the seat. But hey, it still works. We'll erase that one. There are a bunch of ABS codes. Left front sensor circuit, system under voltage, and then a bunch of service manual ones. These are all communication failures. Everything else you can see is green. So I'm going to erase all those codes, take it for a drive, see what happens. But we're going to check out the data of the main engine transmission, see what kind of shape that's in. Now you can see the ABS brake system. I tried erasing the codes, and you'll see what happens when I try to erase them. It won't be able to erase them because they're what are called hard codes. They all stay on. So odds are the ABS system isn't working anymore. But before we go into that, we'll look at live data. Start her up. Like I said, it's old, so it's going to be a little slow refreshing. Okay, let's check it out. Pretty normal. The injector pulses are close from one side to the other. 5.8, 5.7 milliseconds. Now you can see the long-term fuel adaptation is 0.3%. That means it's 99.7% perfect, so it's not off much. For a whole vehicle like this with 151,000 miles, that's pretty good. Closed loop like it's supposed to be. There's all the AC data. See, you thought this vehicle was old, but it's got a lot of technology in it. The only thing that's wrong is the ABS system probably doesn't work at all. It's what's called the fail-safe system. When it goes out, it goes back to normal non-ABS brakes on these old things. Now I'm going to do a test here. It's kind of an interesting one. You see, the only thing is not the seatbelt light because I don't have the seatbelt on. So, we'll put the seatbelt on. You notice there's no lights, right? Well, we're going to shut it off. I'm going to turn the key on. Now here's the odd thing. When we turn the key on, it does the self-test. The ABS warning light comes on and goes off like it's supposed to. But when we start it up, it's gone, right? It's not coming on. Well, now the owner told me the ABS light never came on for him. What's probably happening is the main ABS modulator is probably broken down, and when it breaks, it doesn't tell you that it's broken. It's kind of like a crazy person. They think they're sane. They're not going to tell you they're crazy, right? Well, we'll just see what happens when we take it for a road test. But I'm going to be pretty sure the ABS system won't operate on this anymore because it's got serious hard codes that I can't erase. And yet, the ABS light doesn't come on. So that tells me the computer system's probably gone wacky. So let's take it for a spin. Say, hey, it idles smooth. Smooth idle. And it is a Jeep, so we don't have to worry about anything going over the bump here. Whee! Over we go. I'd say for $2,900 you got a pretty good deal. Yeah, it rides like a Jeep because the shocks are old and worn. You can replace them if you want. Won't run any better. Now, it might only get 13 miles a gallon, but one of the reasons people bought these is because they're relatively quick vehicles. It's one of the reasons they get such bad gas mileage. You gotta wait for the line of cars to clear off here. Might take a while. Finally, we get a clearance. So, here we go. And you can see these things are relatively quick. Just like a dream. fun cars to drive around. If you don't mind getting 13 miles a gallon. And they handle quite nice with the unibody construction. They're decent handling vehicles. But now let's test out the ABS brakes. Well, I'll be damned, they still work. The ABS system didn't work anymore. I'd be able to make the tires squeal when I slam on the brakes. And I can't. So it is working. That's how you can tell if the ABS system is or isn't working. Get going when there's no one around, like when I'm driving, slam on the brakes. If the tires stop and slide, they're skidding because the anti-lock brake system isn't working. But in this case, I can't get them to skid. I hit the brakes just a tiny bit. So in this case, they're partially not working. I can't slam on them and have them squeal, but they start to drag and then they unlock. The system isn't working perfectly, but it's still working to some extent. So interestingly enough, it has codes for the system, but it doesn't turn the ABS light on. We'll try another test. We'll hit it hard here. Now the light still doesn't come on, so it is working. In this case, my fancy Autel scanner is actually smarter than the computer in the car. It knows that there is a minor problem, but the problem isn't big enough to flag the computer in the car to turn the ABS light on. It probably was working at about 90-something% capability. All it did was that little squeal in the beginning, and then it stopped. So it would just have started to lock up and the tire skids, but then it stops, and it stops the car fine, but the light doesn't come on, and the ABS system is actually doing its thing. It's just not doing it at 100%, showing that the software on my machine is better than the stuff is, which isn't surprising. I mean, hey, it's an old vehicle. It's a brand new scan tool, right? $2,900 versus a new one. This is the luxury one. The new one was $87,000 down the street, you know, so you could buy what, 30 of these for the price of one of those? I think it'd be a better deal. You can buy a lot of gasoline with that money, you know? People got rid of them because they were gas hogs. That's the main thing. They're well made. And this particular one, like I said, Daimler Chrysler, made in the USA. It's probably the best version of this they ever built, except they got horrible gas mileage. That's the thing. They can run a long time. The AC still blows cold. If you want an SUV dirt cheap, try to find one like he did. Hey. Look, it's not all rusted out. Some of the rocker panels are, but the main frame is not rotted. Still got a lot of life in it for $2,900. You can't beat that. Now, if you're the type of person that drives 30, 40,000 miles a year, you're probably going to say 13 miles a gallon. But they just aren't going to be making these in the future because they didn't sell enough of them. As far as I'm concerned, basically, it's because they charge too much money for them, and people are like, hey, that's too expensive. If they're starting to charge Lexus prices, I'm going to buy a Lexus. I'm not going to buy one of these. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.